Hello, hello. Welcome to Talk About It Tuesday. I'm Tosca Di Matteo, founder of Tosca Coaching and Consulting, and I am so excited to be here with you today, September 28th. And I'm so excited for you to meet, perhaps for the first time, my guest, Debra Driscoll, who's going to talk about intuition, our first sense. And for those of you who are new to the platform, I just want to share that I do this because I love bringing different perspectives, different topics to the table for personal development and growth, for leadership growth. And I know that when you hear things from different people with different experiences, sometimes it can hit you in a different kind of way than perhaps how I could resonate. So I'm excited to bring on Debra Driscoll, founder of Big Life Magic, right now. And I'm so excited that we have some folks with us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you are new, please know you are welcome to ask questions in the chat and participate. That's what this platform is for. So, Deborah, welcome to the playground.
I'm so pleased to be here with you and talking about some magic.
Yes.
I
Me
can feel
too.
the sinking in, you know?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I definitely spent some extra time today just connecting with you energetically, with myself, and just getting grounded. And I'm so excited for this conversation. And in fact, you are the first guest that I've had that is your second time. And I'm thrilled. And I'm thrilled because, first of all, the first time that we spoke, we had some retrograde stuff going on, so it didn't say very well. Hi, Anna. So good to see you here. But also, I know the topic that we're talking about is much, much different. And before I hand it over to you to introduce yourself and share with the audience what you want to share about who you are, your journey, what brings you to this moment, I just want to just honor and say that I am so thrilled that you're spending this time with me again, that I can call you friend and guide and spiritual leader. And every time that I'm in your presence, like I feel like I'm in my highest self just because of your presence. And so I am so appreciative of our connection and bond and look forward to a lifetime of our developing friendship. So thank you for being here.
Oh, that is so delightful. And right back at you, my friend. Yes, indeed. So, yeah,
Thank
for
you.
those who don't know me, I'm Deborah, and I'm the creator of Big Life Magic. And Tosca, you just summed it up beautifully there when you said in the presence and you feel like you're connected to your own higher self, your own higher presence. That is a huge part of what I'm wanting to bring to the world, because my belief is that we all have magic. And it comes out in different ways, and it's sharing different lessons with us, and it gives us different gifts to give away. And the world can be magical, and you can align with that like higher self. And so for you to say to me that that's your experience of spending time, I'm just like, oh, it's working. It's working. Because I really am like the magic weaver and spiritual teacher who really wants people to feel a connection to their own magic. Not like I need to reach outside of myself to someone else or the next book or some spiritual teacher to access it, because it's here. And so really my work is around helping people to tap into that. And in a deeper layer of my work, it's also around exploring the energetics of our heart and all the lessons that come through our heart, and also the connection between heart and our soul selves. Because when we're working on our heart, we're working on our soul selves, and our heart is the earthbound part of us, and the soul is the hanging out up there, essential part of us. And so, and finding those deeper layers of through our big life loss, you can have a gateway to your big life magic, and that it's designed and it's perfect, and we can find the stepping stones towards our magic. Yeah.
Yes, and I just want to pause a little bit on your expression big life loss. Like what does that mean to you when
Yeah.
you talk about that?
Yeah. Well, for me personally, it's my big life loss of 8 years ago when my son unexpectedly died. And I've definitely had other losses. I've had partnerships that broke up, a business that I started when I was young and I had so much hope and it didn't work out. And these are life losses, and we all experience those. That's a part of being human. There's also the big life loss, like that core shaker, and for some people it's going to be a death. For some people it might be a divorce, it might be an illness, it might be the end of a dream. But what I believe in the work that I've done and my experience with being with my big life loss and finding the transformation, finding the healing points, is that big life loss is actually soul designed in order to give us the experience of being with our broken pieces. So we on purpose put them back together. And in
Mm.
particular, the energetics of our heart, for when we do stitch it all back together and find the layers of the healing, we deepen our understanding of love and our potential for love, and we strengthen our energetic heart. And as when you strengthen your energetic heart, you strengthen your soul self.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that you shared that. And I think too, the other way that I see loss is maybe even in what we never had, like the grief of what
Yes.
never existed.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, to your point, I think everybody can identify in some way with what was never there or what was there and then was lost. And I think what I'm hearing you say is like that is the catalyst for deeper love and deeper joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not going to be immediate.
Mhm.
Like the loss is real,
Mhm.
and we're very human and it hurts. And we can question, why did this happen? Why me? But you can also reframe that to, like, because I remember after my son passed, it was about maybe only 3 days later, and I was sitting underneath my jacaranda tree. So in Australia, I was in Australia at the time, and in Australia, we have these really big, beautiful jacaranda trees. And in the springtime, they have these beautiful, very purple little flowers. So they end up with these beautiful crowns of purple flowers. And I was lucky enough in my back garden to have a really big, old jacaranda tree. And that was really my magic space. Sitting at the base of that tree was where I would go to return to myself, or to have a moment, or to sit and watch sunset with a glass of wine. Whatever it was, that was my special spot. And about 3 days after my son passed, I was sitting there and I was alone, which was probably one of the few times in the first few days that I was alone, which is it's a blessing that I was so supported, but it was also a blessing I had a moment on my own because I could listen. I had the space to listen, and the message that I received, which I was kind of shocked at when I received what I went, okay, that's what I received. The message I received was, God will not give you what you cannot handle. And so I sat there with the questions of, well, what's this got to do with God? Number one, has this got anything to do with God? Is it with God? I'm not quite sure. And somewhere along the line, it's been decided that my soul can handle this loss. And so I was just kind of like being with that, in that listening. And it really helped me to frame my loss, because one of the things that I feared was that I would be pitied. Like, oh, poor Deborah. It's like, there's something about that I really didn't want. And I also didn't want to do that to myself. I didn't want to go into that place. Hey, at times I did, but I didn't want to sustain that, because I was also sitting in the knowing of everything happens for a reason. So if everything happens for a reason, what is the reason for this? So there were some really big, deep questionings, and my big life magic did not turn up. immediately. Not even a couple of beats down the road. There was, quite a journey, and along the journey there was definitely magic. But there was moments of not so magical,
Yeah. And something I want to just pull out here too, right? Because I think that just when you say that you sat and you listened to what message came, and I think that, in the work that I do and the people that I interact with, often, from corporate land, that in a way, I think people get a sense of loss of self in those worlds, right? Where you're just trying to survive and thrive. And so you end up putting your own beliefs or feelings or sense of self aside in order to, you know, play the game per se. And for you, I'm curious because I think some people are like, you want me to sit by myself and like listen to a voice that may not come in that moment. And for me, I definitely experienced that too, where it's like, I want to know what the next step is. And like, okay, I'm just going to listen to myself. And it's like, there's nothing. So so what do you say to folks, right, who are like, that shit ain't working for me, or like, what am I supposed to do if I don't hear the message that comes in the form of a whisper most often?
Yeah, beautiful question. And I think it is definitely for people who are questioning, because there has to be a want to actually receive, first of all,
Mm,
you know? And it's all about building a relationship.
mm,
Like if you have no relationship with your intuition or your inner knowing or your gut, what your gut is telling you, if you don't have a relationship there, you can't just turn up one day and start demanding
mm,
that you receive, because there's
mm,
no relationship. And when you develop the relationship, that is, spend some time in meditation. Even like when I started to actually, years ago, when I said to myself, okay, I get it. A key foundation for me is meditation. And I know I find it kind of irritating, but I'm going to really try on building this for myself. And it took a while because my mind wants to be chatty all the time. I have a very chatty mind, most of us do. And the monkey mind wants to take over. And so then, so it took quite a while to figure out how to just be, and also just let it be. Like if my mind comes in to have a little chat while I'm making space in meditation in the morning, so be it. You say, okay, I note you, you can go now, back to your breathing. Like it took me a while, but I made a conscious point of saying, I am going to build this relationship. And again, it takes some time. But it doesn't have to be, I'm going to go on a mountain for 5 days and not speak or eat and, drink only the dew from the leaves. It doesn't have to be
yeah.
that. It can be like when I started, it was like I'm going to spend 10 minutes every morning.
Mhm.
10 minutes every morning where I'm just going to sit and breathe. And I read some books and I asked some friends who meditated, because it's about building that relationship, and you can do it in whatever way works for you. Some people really like going to like a meditation teacher, and they would go every week and learn, and they're in a group and there's an instructor you can ask questions of. Some people want to do it on their own at home. There's so many different ways you can develop it, but first you have to want the relationship.
That makes so much sense. And it's just so simple the way you put it. I'm just like, oh my God, this is like, oh my gosh, right? That makes so much sense. And I kind of want to go backwards a little bit because you talk about the monkey mind and like, woo, yeah, definition of monkey mind. And a lot, for me, I've learned, that was my survival. Like getting into my head was my survival as a kid. Um, and I think that a lot of folks that are in organizations, corporations, what have you, right, develop that over reliance. There's so much. Everybody has their own traumas, big T, little t, right? That puts us in that state that makes it hard to connect um, down into our heart space and what have you. And so I'd love actually for the audience to hear a little bit about like your journey, like is like were you born with like just being really connected to yourself? Like do you battle the mind heart all the time? Like, or do you sit in another sphere where it's totally different?
Yeah, yeah, great question. Like I'm definitely in it, and I'm in it for the win it, and I'm battling, and I'm so human. So when I was born, I, according to stories, a lot of them I can't remember, was intuitive and would just speak from that place. So, I would say something like, Mum, it's okay. I can stay home from school tomorrow because I know when Sandra is sick, it's going to be hard for you to manage all of the other kids. So don't worry, I'll stay home from school and watch my sister Sandra. But at the time I'm saying this, and Sandra is not sick. It's not until the next morning she wakes up and she has the fever. So I was a beat ahead, and apparently I would just like say things that didn't seem to make sense, or tell people information that, how would I? And I actually don't remember that so much because I was so young. What I do remember was this feeling that what I was doing was scary to the people around me. And so I have this memory that I found through hypnosis years ago now, where I'm sitting on the edge of my bed and I'm crying and I'm telling my spirit friends that they have to go away because they're not allowed, they're getting me into trouble, and I want to be a good girl, I want to be accepted, I want to be normal like the other kids. And in the memory, when I go back to that memory, it feels really painful. And after that, in the hypnosis, I tried to see further, like what happened after that, and all I received was black. And I did have a childhood and my teens where I wasn't listening to my intuition. I wasn't thinking about meditation. Like I knew that there was more in the universe, and I was interested, but I wasn't studying it. I wasn't a part of it in any real way. It wasn't until I left to move to another city. My family were far away, and I was on my own adventure because I had been accepted into a university degree in the capital city, far away, and I was on my own. I could kind of define the world as I wanted to. And me and a couple of girlfriends decided that we were interested in tarot cards. So let's get some tarot cards. And then we started to learn. And then people around us were like, oh, that's interesting. Because we were all 19, 20 at the time at university. And so everyone was, wanting to be unique and interested in our futures. And so I would, read these cards and learn about the cards. And really at the time, I was completely learning what was happening. But it felt like coming home. That's what it felt like. And then from there, there's, various experiences that provided me the space that allowed me to learn more, to be more, to grow that part of me. And also, I had experiences where it was like, I need this now, like in my life. It's like, I need this now. Not I want it because it's fun, like I actually need this now. And so that there was a desire and also a need that shifted me forward, and some big life losses, like the very first man I ever loved, my best friend, when we were 20, he chose to take his own life, and it was devastating. It was the first time I had ever experienced anything so devastating, and it took me into a space of like, I want to know more about the universe now. I want to know what's happening to his soul now. And then 7 months later, my father unexpectedly died of a heart attack. And so I was like, oh, I still am not on top of that wave. And now we have another one, and it's not just me, it's my whole family. And so therefore, again, it's like, it's not just a desire, I want to know more about this. It was like this life was saying, you need this now to stay above the line, to move towards survival.
When you say you need this now, what is the this? I just want to be clear for what
So the this is coming back to heart space. This is prayer. This is meditation. This is like what is in the spirit realm, what is possible, how can I heal, what are the many ways? Because like I've studied so many different healing modalities, and some of them were because I was interested, and some of them were because I think I need that now. So let me study into that, and explore that. And so many of the things that I teach and many of the things that I share with the people I work with, I have absolutely tried it on for size. Figured out how it works before I am sharing it with others.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so powerful about you and about the work that you do, because you've walked the line. You've tripped over the line. You fell off the line, right?
I got the chalk out and I drew another line because I didn't like that line. Yeah.
Right. So, and it just feels so profound, right? Like that you had this gift kind of born into this world. I think that we all are born with certain gifts. It was ever present for you, and so I'm curious, because like me, I didn't have like exposure to like spirituality per se, right? Like my mother was Jewish, my father was Catholic, but kind of non-practicing. So, I kind of grew up in this like it's all on me. Like that's the mentality that I had. That, it was like I didn't have the spiritual connection to believe in something, higher than myself. I just didn't have that. Um, and I think that in the world that we're living in now, there's kind of like an awakening to something bigger than ourselves, connectedness, right? If we just look at the pandemic. And so I love that we're having this conversation, because I think so many people for the first time are like, what else is there? Like I just had a friend reach out to me and was like, what's up with this crystal thing? And it's like beautiful, because we're just trying to find solutions in different ways that maybe were never told about or talked about. And so I say all this to say that for people that are really, really trying to connect to that intuition, maybe for the first time, as an adult, and how do you identify the difference between the monkey mind and the intuition? Because I think it can be very confusing which is which sometimes.
Yes, it is. And there's a few things that you can do there. And I think the first thing I want to say to anybody who's listening who says, I don't have I call it my first sense of intuition. No, that's not going to work for everybody. But for me, it's my first sense is my intuition. And for somebody else, it may be the sense that they're wanting a new relationship with or wanting to develop. And the first thing I want to say is that you haven't lost anything. And it's not like you didn't get any. It's not like it happens for other people and it doesn't happen for me. Everyone has intuition. And what happens if the relationship isn't tended to, it's like the volume just got turned down. Right? And so it's there. You don't have to go out and find it somewhere. It's not you have to pass a test and then you get given it. It's there, and it may take a little bit of time to build your trust that it's there and then build that relationship. But for somebody who is really interested in wanting to build it, I really do advise to find some other people who do and maybe meditate together or go to a meditation class, or because it is something that you can get caught up in your head about it if you're trying at home, listening to a meditation on YouTube, say you're sitting there and all you're present to is your monkey mind, right? It can be tricky. So finding a way that's going to work for you, and there's so many different styles of meditation, and also there's different ways that our intuition connects and works with us. So for some people, they're going to get, like some people say, I had a gut feeling. I just got a gut feeling. That's clairsentient. That means your intuition is coming through your feelings in your body. The classic, stereotype of the card reader and the crystal ball and I see your grandmother, that's clairvoyant. And that's where someone who's clairvoyant will see images, see pictures. And then you have clairaudient, which is I can hear that voice. And then you have claircognizance, which is I just have a knowing. I just know that that's the right thing to do. And it just kind of drops in. It's not connected to any other thought. So when you're developing your relationship, you're just like, which one? Because we have all of them. But the volume's been turned down on different ones at different times. And so you can turn them all up, or you can just be like, okay, mine's going to do what it's going to do. I just want to focus on how am I feeling? What's the feeling in my body? What am I feeling?
Yeah, and I think that, what comes up for me when you share that, and I love that you went into this too on your Witch Wednesdays on Facebook group, and so I know we're going to talk about that so people know where to get more of your amazing wisdom. But I think that sometimes on the spiritual journey and tapping into your intuition, for me, I'll just speak for myself, right? It can be an excuse to be hard on myself. It can be an excuse to say, something's wrong with you. You don't see any images. Something's wrong with you. You don't hear the voice. So so you're doing it wrong, or you're wrong, or something's wrong with you. And to your point, I think experimenting with what does resonate. And for example, you mentioned oracle cards, right? And I think I had my first deck a few years ago. It was very recent. And I come to realize that when I pull a card for myself, I can discover what resonates for me. I can connect with what feels true, and that feels like information that I can work with. So I kind of offer that because some of these things people can be like, oh my God, it's, it's out there. But to me, it's just a tool. It's a tool that I discovered resonates for me, and it gives me comfort. It gives me connectedness, and a lot of that is also recently thanks to you and your beautiful knowledge in that space. So I don't know. I just want to share that because I think that people, can walk away from things when they're not, and if it's not resonating right away,
Yeah. And back to your point about the difference between intuition and monkey mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so monkey mind is going to be quite erratic. Mm-hmm. It's almost going to be like the to-do list, the laundry list, or something that kind of repeats. And it has an energy of it, it has a feeling of, definitely moving fast, erratic. And you can kind of feel it coming at you a little bit. And because we know when we're overthinking. And the thing that happens when you meditate is you stop and you breathe, which means you're actually noticing how fast your mind is moving. It's not that you stop and breathe and then your mind turns. Our minds are doing that all the time. You just become really conscious of it, right? The thing about intuition, listening and receiving what I call intuitive hits, when you're going to receive one of those, it's not going to be erratic at you, and it's not going to feel like it has fearful or guilt or any of these other emotions attached to it. It's going to feel like a flow, or it's going to feel like it drops in. And it may repeat, but if it does, it will stay at the same energy as it repeats. And essentially, it's going to feel supportive. So when you say you pull a card for yourself, and you can interpret whatever that message means for you that day when you pull that card, and it makes you feel better, that is that intuitive listening to spirit internal hug that you're giving yourself. And you're right, that is a tool that's simply mirroring something back to you so that you can understand yourself better.
Yeah.
But the other thing you can do, there's a couple of things you can do with monkey mind, which I can share now. One of my favorites.
Yeah, and for those listening, sorry, I just want to say, for those watching, give us some hearts if you want to hear more about monkey mind. Let us know if you have questions. I feel like we just have gold here with Deborah. So, don't be afraid to engage and ask questions that might feel stupid. I just want to say that because I just know how valuable it is to be with you and get your wisdom. So, but yes, but more tips on monkey mind like this is yes. Please keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah,
I think this audience will really appreciate that.
yeah.
There we go.
So
We got some hearts.
beautiful. So I have a couple of visualizations that you can use. One is one that I will often use with people, and another is actually one that was shared with me by a very dear friend who knows both of us, Tosca,
Oh.
Anna Krishtal. So I'm going to share a little piece of Anna wisdom. Anna is an amazing hypnotherapist who does beautiful work, and also one that I like because sometimes I'll use one or the other. Right? So I'll start with Anna's. Anna says when you get like a repeated thought or thoughts going on, you can visualize seeing the thoughts as like, like a cartoon thought bubble, right? And then you take your energetic pair of scissors and you just cut the cord connecting the thought to you and just watch it float away. Just cut the cord and watch it float away.
Yeah.
And so it's like you're stopping, taking note. Because the thing about these monkey mind thoughts is you don't want to pretend that they're not there, and you don't want to get into a battle with them. So that one of the other things you can do is just kind of say, I see that you're there. I will get to you later. It's time for you to just go now. I'm breathing.
Yes.
Like you can just, and then you return to your breath. So you can just draw the attention to it. You can cut them with your energetic scissors. Or one of my favorites is I imagine on my forehead is a magical door that opens and all of the monkey mind thoughts flow out of my mind.
Yeah.
And then when that door's open, I can allow intuition to flow back in. And so then I just leave the door open while I'm meditating. And if monkey starts to come play, I'm just like, and I'll go on outside and play out there. We'll get to you later. Go on outside and play out there. And then you're also open, and sometimes I might visualize if there's like some beautiful light or love coming in through. That's in particular if there's something happening in the mind. The other thing that you can do, which also speaks to Lisa here, asks, how do I cultivate more intuition in my life? So this is going to help with that. And it's also going to help with calming down the mind, because our minds, have to give our mind credit. It's amazing. Our minds are amazing. And they do so many amazing things for us. But the trick, I think, is you don't want the mind to always be in the driver's seat. Like learning the balance of that, how do we listen to our heart? How can we be more heart-led? Because lots of people speak about that, and it's all about love and heart-led and return to love, and that's a beautiful idea. But how do you do that? And one of the ways that you can do that is by heart breathing. So when you're breathing, doing your meditation, you can do this standing in line at the bank. You can do it, sitting down in the morning, or while you're walking, if you take a morning walk. I like to do walking meditation in the morning. And so what you're doing is you're literally breathing into your heart space, into the center of your chest. And you're imagining that the breath is going in there to add fresh love and light there. And you can choose to create any picture that you like, whether you want to see your actual physical heart, or you might want to see an energetic heart, like whatever the heart chakra looks like for you. And you're literally breathing into that space with the intention of allowing your heart to be the leader for now, charged up by your attention to the heart space. And you just do it a few times and just feel the shift. Because the other thing about our intuition is, if you're not sure, is that an intuitive hit? Or am I just telling myself that story? Which is it? You just place your hand on your heart and just breathe. And then feel it. Does it come through erratically, or does it feel that it's sitting in your heart? And if you're still not sure, ask before you go to sleep. It's like, I'm not quite sure. Like, is my intuition telling me to go left, or should I follow this strong thought that maybe right is the next best move? You're kind of caught, because this happens to us also. Like, we get caught between this head, heart, ego, intuition, and then it's really hard to twist yourself out of that when we're there. So again, we don't struggle and fight for it. You just surrender. And then before sleeping, just say, I have this question. I am willing to, I'm willing and open for the intuitive higher self answer to come through. And I am open to receive that upon waking. When you sleep, because when we sleep, we let go. All of our human conscious self just takes a little rest, and our unconscious and our subconscious, and literally our body goes into healing patterns, and we can open up. And then when you first wake up in the morning, all of that human self hasn't actually stitched back together just yet. So upon waking in the morning is when your intuition is going to be sharpest. So if you ask before bed, I'm going to receive this guidance when I wake up. And then when you wake up, whatever feeling you have there, trust that and go there. So if you wake up and the feeling was like, oh, it is actually right. I should be going right now. Follow the guidance. Don't go back into the questioning.
Yeah, and I'm hearing so much of the work around intuition feels like being really in tune to your body.
I'm just going to see if I can change. I think your sound just, my volume went down for some reason. And we're
Okay.
back.
I remember. Yeah, so it sounds like so much about intuition is also checking in with your body. You talk about feelings.
Yes, absolutely. Clairsentient, that first Claire that I spoke of, is probably one of the strongest across the board. Like as I said, we have all of them. But how many times do you hear people saying, I had this gut feeling about that person, or I just had this feeling that I needed to go into that store and then I found the perfect shoes, or whatever the story is. But it can often your body is telling you first, and that's your intuition.
Yes.
Everybody has a gut sense.
Yeah.
That's your intuition.
Yeah, it's like anything, like any kind of inner work, self work, it's like always has to start like with awareness and awareness of the body, because I think we ignore it so much in the Western world, to the point where, right, we are so sick, and then we've been ignoring it for months and months, and then it's like, oh my gosh, you like then you have a big problem on your hand because you've been ignoring it, or maybe you're in denial, but either way. Yeah. But I also want to get to also Karen. I'm so glad you're here. And she asked, and like, oh, I deal with this one all the time, which is, what are suggestions for dealing with a partner's monkey mind? I'm curious your thought on that.
I'm curious about the question.
I'm
curious about the question. With what I'm curious about is, I don't know. Is it your job to deal with somebody else's monkey mind? Can you do that? I'm not quite sure. I mean, Karen, are you asking like, how can I help my partner with their monkey mind? Like if they're speaking to you about saying, I try to meditate, but I have this monkey mind, what can I do? And if that's the case, then I would go into magical play with your partner and invite into, okay, well, this week, why don't we each morning or each evening try a different type of meditation? I don't want my partner's monkey mind to affect me. Thank you for the clarification. So that's a different realm of work, in that what you want to focus on there is don't focus on your partner, you focus on self. So this is for Karen and anybody else out there connected to a partner, a mother, a neighbor, a work colleague, anybody who you feel like their energy is like, it's just not working for me, or this is, my partner verbalizes monkey mind all the time. Okay, great. So I would be in a conversation about what's possible there within the relationship. But for you also, in terms of like what's happening for you, is it's really beautiful energetically if you get clear about, oh, that's yours and this is mine. That's yours and this is mine. And when it starts to come and you can feel yourself getting drawn in, what you can do is find a way to create your own energetic space. So one thing that you can do, which is completely available all the time to anybody, is you take a breath in, and as you're breathing out, you're with your own beautiful imagination and all the magic in you, because we all have it, is you breathing out with the imagined intent that you're strengthening your energetic field. And this doesn't become a shield that keeps people out. What it does, it just gives you a space that's yours. And you do it 3 times as a way of just strengthening your own energetic field. So you know, oh, this is mine. This is mine. And then you can start to feel less of a need to be connected to somebody else's energy. And I get it, like COVID has meant we're all in tight spaces. We're all asked to be with people longer than we were used to. Like we used to be in and out and doing things and da-da-da. And so it's changed all of these dynamics, and it has definitely been challenging, which means, you know, like you need to meet the challenge with a new mind, with a new heart, because the old way is not going to be in the new landscape. And finding a way to create the pockets of peace for yourself, create the place where you're connected to self, and also seeing the challenges that we get in life, also being like, okay, so this is teaching me something. If I don't make it about them, if I make it about me, what am I being asked to learn right now? You know, because sometimes when you get triggered by somebody else, it's like you're learning something inside yourself related to what they're doing. And so you can see it as like, oh, well, thanks for bringing that lesson to me. and turn on to, and hey, again, we are human. This is not easy work. It's going to take a couple of rounds of, you know, returning to that breath and returning to what does this mean for me? What is the lesson for me? And then there's some days which, hey, I do it as well, where you just find yourself saying the mean thing out loud to your partner in the kitchen because they're annoying you that day. And it's not that magical, but we do that, and then we need to say sorry, and then we return to our breathing and return to heart space. You know?
And you know, the thing that comes up for me as we're talking about this too is I think sometimes we have to honor what our needs are and what we need to ask for and what boundaries we need to create. Because Karen, girl, I know there were times, for example, that like, you know, Ryan, my husband, would like be sharing stuff, and then I'd be like, "What do you want from me? Like, am I supposed to respond to that? Are you just like verbalizing? Like, am I supposed to support you? Do you need me to encourage you? Like, and because that was just a lot, you know, especially because I'm doing my own work, and then it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm like, wait, am I supposed to like support you now? Like, I have some emails to do, you know. So we've definitely had conversations. Also, with you know, therapy is gold, you know. I'll just say, but yeah, like to your point, right? It's like I love what you said, Deborah, which is like, what is the lesson I'm here to learn? Maybe the lesson is around boundaries. Maybe the lesson is around asking for what you need. You know, it makes me think of like emotional dumping, which people do, and they don't even know they're doing it.
And they don't even know they're doing it. And they need something, and they need to learn something. And sometimes by showing the boundary, you're helping that person to learn their heart soul lesson. You know? It is all in the way you approach it too. You know, like I know the difference between when I come from I'm frustrated, you're really annoying me today, you know, when I come at it with that, then that's going to take like the rest of the day, weird energy for us to work through. Other times when I can be like, I'm not going to say it now, I'm going to wait for the calmer moment and then say, you know, when I'm working and doing that, I can't have you because this is what happened, you know. It's just a different, and what it is, like absolutely what you said, Tosca, is really respecting your own energy and also understanding that we can't ever control or change somebody else's energy. It's theirs. And we can be in relationship to it and we can learn with it, we can dance with it, we can struggle with it. But in terms of energetic patterns, that is up to that person. We can influence it, we can help people shift their patterns, absolutely. But we're not the ones who shift it. It's like the work I do with people when they come to me and they're either working through something really big that they're working through, or they're wanting a new inspiration in life, or they're looking at a transformation over weeks with me. It's like I'm just helping them to see themselves, to return home to themselves, so that they energetically can make choices that will shift their energy. It's not that I don't do anything. I'm absolutely a channel which has some, intuitive hits that I can share with the people I'm working with, and I can interpret the cards, and I can teach them about how to tune to the moon, and I can teach a lot of things, but then it's actually the person themselves who is working that tool, that magical element within themselves. And that's why I always say to people, the magic's in you.
Yeah. Yeah, and this really connects with me in terms of, because I think we both do like leadership work in different ways and working with, thought leaders and what have you, and or leaders of other people. Um, and I think that what we're talking about in terms of being connected to yourself, being clear about like your truth, like honoring like what comes up for you and your feelings, doing that work allows you to, in my opinion, allows you to hold space for others and their shit, right? Like kind of what we're talking about. Like we can't impact them, we can't change their energy. Maybe we can do some influencing. All we can do is be in our energy, and that will undoubtedly impact whoever we are around. And so, yeah, like I'm curious your thoughts on the connection between connecting with our intuition and also being able to be in spaces with other people in a more graceful way, almost.
Yeah. Again, it comes back down to developing that relationship with self. So whatever room you walk into, whatever situation you walk into, you've got you. It's like having your own back, having your own center, so that when you are in different spaces and places with people, you know how to come back to yourself, and you can, because we're all going to be influenced by other people's energy. It's also a part of being human, right? It's like, I don't know if you or anybody else knows, but one of my latest explorations is in the work of the Heart Math Institute. And what they're doing is that they're using science to map the energy and the electromagnetic pulses of our heart. And what they're finding is that as humans, we first receive information in our heart. We receive so much more information in our heart than our brains ever do. And then what happens is our heart will then send a message up to our brain, and our brain interprets it. So we think our brain is the leader, but really, it's actually the heart. And spiritual teachers have been saying this for how long? And now science is backing it up, and they have this amazing research. And what they find is that the electromagnetic from our heart is so expansive. It's feet and feet and feet and feet and feet away. So of course, when we walk into a room, if my heart energy is all the way out here and yours is Tosca, and then Karen comes in and Christina comes in, then all of our heart energy is going to go, hey, right? It's a part of being human. Your heart is doing that to give you information so that you can share information. But it's also like the stronger that you are connected to your heart, which you can do with prayer, meditation, affirmations, whatever feels good to you, then it's like having your own strong anchor when you're walking into these different spaces. And if you do walk in somewhere and the space doesn't feel great to you, trust it. this is the other thing about intuition, that I'm sure if intuition was here, like in a couples therapy, intuition would always say, but they're never listening to me. Like, how can I get my point across? Because they're never listening to me. Like, that's what intuition would say in couples therapy. And it's like, so if you do walk into a space and it feels funky, it's funky. Your brain's going to try and figure out why, is it that person, what's going on, should I be here? Just anchor in, it feels strange in here. What's my next response? What do I feel is the next thing that I should do? Not what do I think, what do I feel is the next thing I should do? That person over there has a nice vibe. I'm going to go and talk to them.
Right.
I'm just going to shift my vibe over that way. Like, anytime you kind of when we get caught up into our heads, we're getting caught up into anxiety, or fearful, or I'm going to get it wrong, imposter stuff. Like, all of that is living up here in that ego mind state. And so we just do that heart breathing, or do the breathing all the way down and strengthening your energetic field. Now knowing, because Deb told you, your electromagnetics of your heart are so expansive that, you can anchor here. And life's going to happen. Sometimes you're going to walk into rooms and it's going to be a funky vibe. Or you walk into a room and somebody's just had an argument, and you can feel that, right? Because it's in the air.
Yeah. Yeah, and it makes me think of the word patience, because when you are leading with your intuition, which I think is like what this was all about, right? With your first sense, that you're leading from that place, that it may not happen on the timeline, or your answers, or that may not happen on the timeline, but we are, I think, kind of trained. So we want things like this. We need an answer today. And we are often pressured for answers before maybe we're ready to know like what we truly want, because we need time to process and figure that out. So I don't know. I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, beautiful. I think it is patience, but that wanting it now, that is that energy of I need the security. Then I'm going to be safe. So if we're allowing intuition to lead, we need to trust. You need to let go of the reins a little bit. Like I'm always saying to people, magic needs space. You need to make some space on the playground for the magic and the intuition to come in to lead. And maybe intuition is leading, or could you see it as my intuition is I'm co-creating with my intuition. Like, make it a relationship. But you need to have this trust. Like, a couple of weeks ago, I had a week off where I had a whole week where I was just going to do some beautiful visioning around my Big Life Magic business, and I was really excited, and I was ready to get into that mental strategic space, and I was waiting upon that week to arrive because it felt so excitable to me. And I arrived at that week and my intuition was like, no, not now. Anything you plan now is not good. Go and take a nap. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll go and do that. Took a couple of days to read my book and, hang about. It was nice. And then I think on the third day I went back to, okay, now let me get the, because I go into like coloured pens and big bits of paper to do my strategic planning, right? I'm into there. No, don't do it now. And I'm like, well, that's kind of annoying because this is the only week that I have.
That's not convenient.
After. So intuition, can you just play with me here? And, on the third day, and they're like, no.
Yeah.
Go and take a nap and read your book. And so I did. I went, okay, I'll just let go a little bit. Mind you, though, on the fourth and the fifth day, I just tried a little bit of strategic. And I kept getting this, no. And then it was right towards the end of the week that I got it. And I was like, oh, I wasn't completely aligned with my big desire of what I wanted to create. What I was aligned with was what I think I should do next in my business. Not what is connected to this co-creation with the universe. And it's much more delicious what I got to at the end of the week. But I had to trust for 5 days that doing nothing was going to get me there.
Yes.
And if I didn't trust that, I would have missed out on a lot of naps. I would have not had delicious time reading my book. And I would have created a strategic plan for my business that is not aligned with my magic. Would it have been great? Sure. Would it have been fine? Yeah, you can pull it off. Would I have made money? Yeah. Is that the point? No.
Yeah, that alone right there, I'm like, I feel like we could go and talk about that alone for so long. This idea of being in flow, this idea of not forcing. I talk about this all the time, even from a career coaching standpoint, that people just want to shoot shit out there, but they're shooting a resume out there, but they're frustrated and they're angry and they're energetically just like not in a space of like even receiving
Yeah.
or even giving. But and hi Claire, so good to see you here. And to Robbie and Christina and everybody who's joined. And I know like oh my gosh, like I just feel like this time is flying. So what I want to do is ask you if there was something burning in your heart that you want to share with people around intuition, if we haven't covered something.
Let me think. Let me feel into this. Is there anything? I think for me, it comes back down to that relationship. I think if yeah, okay, my feeling is to offer this. Go into magical delight and enchantment with your relationship with your intuition, and let go of the I can't do it right, or this is better for other people, or this is too hard. And imagine that you're like, like when you're in a new relationship and you're dating for the first time, and it's like you're not quite sure what's going to happen next in a conversation and who's going to call who, and it's always kind of like it has that excitable energy. And I wish that people could meet their intuition, because when you meet your intuition, you're meeting your soul self. Like you're meeting yourself. And that's why I say it's the first sense, because it's your essence soul self it's the voice of that part of you, right? And so it's an invitation into a really delicious relationship with yourself. And I think it gets a bad rap for the whole monkey mind. It's too hard. Only certain people can do it. That's not true. Every single person has intuition. Just get on the dance floor and dance and play and experiment and try different types of ways to be with it. And absolutely be in the listening and develop your trust.
Whew, that's a powerful punch. I love it. I love the play. I love the reminder to have fun. It doesn't have to be so serious. You've told me that. I appreciate that message. And look, I mean, for everybody watching now and later, like, how can people get a hold of you if they want to work with you? How can they do that? Like, let us know about your magic, your magical places, because I have no doubt that people will want to hear more from you.
Yes, please. I want to meet everybody. So there's two ways that there's like open doors. So I have a Big Life Magic Makers Facebook group, and inside that group I do live teaching twice a week. So that's a way that I stay connected to the community of people who are connected with me, and we share different things, and I take suggestions from the community around what they want the teaching to be on. Sometimes I pull somebody into the room with me and we might do a live card reading if I'm talking about that. It's fun. So that's a way to like be in, not only connected to me, but connected to other magic makers interested in themselves and developing this relationship with soul self.
And how do they find that? They go to Facebook and
it's a Facebook, and it's Big Life Magic Makers, and it's a private group.
Okay.
And then the other invitation that I have, which is an absolute delight to me, is every new moon I have an open to all new moon circle, which is an opportunity for anybody to come on in, and we spend an hour and I talk about what's happening in that new moon, what's happening in the astrology, what's happening in the energy. We might do a journaling or another reflective exercise. I do a channeled guided meditation, and everyone together gets to be in community as a magic maker. And it's one of the things I love about it is that it captures people from different parts of the globe. So it's my Australian community, US, Canada, UK. So there's this real global community that comes together at new moon. And the next new moon is on October 6th. which is a Wednesday night, so 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm so pleased. One of our magic makers, Ayla, she's going to be joining me, and she plays the drum. So the meditation is going to have patterns of drum beat through it. It's going to be really magical.
That sounds magical.
Magical. Yeah, yeah. So
Oh my
you can
gosh.
find that on Eventbrite, or you can reach out to me, Deborah at biglifemagic.com, and say, send me an invite to the New Moon Circle. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and for, everybody, look, I've attended the New Moon Circle. I've done Oracle card readings with Deborah. I've been in the Facebook group. I watch her videos like religiously. So like you will not be disappointed. It is, you see right now, Deborah is nothing but light and love. Like more of that, please. Thank you. So look for her. Go to biglifemagic.com. Go to her Facebook groups. And follow your intuition in terms of what you need and where you want to be for sure.
Let's enjoy that relationship.
Yes. Oh my gosh. This was so fun.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that we have this, and now I can send it to people when I'm like, you want help with your intuition? I've got to talk for you. Like, yeah. So I'm glad this will live on for sure beyond this. And yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And thank you for everybody watching and everybody who's going to watch in the replay. Thank you for being with yourself and your intuition.
Yes, yes. And thank you, Lisa, for joining too. I know we just recently met, and I was so glad that you asked your question and showed up. And for all the other folks who come regularly, it's great to see you here and be with you. So I look forward to seeing you next week. And for more on Deborah, again, biglifemagic.com. And I guess we'll see you all soon.
Yes, thank
Ciao
you.
for now.
Big love.
Yeah, big love. Talk
Bye.
soon. Bye.